We're going to do a simple interest example that begins on page 86. It's actually embedded in question number 5. It says, to meet payroll during a down period, United Ceramics Incorporated needed to borrow $2,000 at 4% simple interest for 3 months. Let's pause for a sec and make sure that we understand what's going on. Pause the video if you have to. We've got a certain amount that they're borrowing. We know how much interest, we know it's simple interest, and we know that it's for 3 months. They're borrowing money to pay their employees. Now number 5 wants us to estimate how much we think that is. You could go ahead and do that, just kind of throw a guess out there. Then we'll see if you're right. Number 6 has the question that we're going to try to solve. It says, now use formulas to find the interest they paid and the future value at the end of 3 months. Hint, how many years does 3 months correspond to? So let's pause a sec. What are we trying to find? The interest they paid. Is that it? 2 things, right. We want to find the interest they paid, but we also want to know the future value. And it's suggesting use formulas. So let's get some formulas. These are our 2 simple interest formulas. Sometimes we'll use one, sometimes we'll use the other, sometimes we'll use both. What do we need to do here? Well, first we're trying to find the interest. This is the formula that talks about interest. So let's plug in what we know. P is the principal, the original amount that they're borrowing. So let's look back, see what that is. 2,000, we're going to plug that in for P. R is our interest rate, 4%. We want to change that to a decimal. And then T is time. 3 months is our time. It would be tempting to plug 3 in for T. But remember our hint? How many years does 3 months correspond to? T should be number of years. So in this case, let's see if we can, right here. It's not even a whole year, let alone 3. We've got 3/12 of a year, right? So if you want to, you could just go ahead and use 3/12, or you could reduce that and make it 1/4, or you could change it to 0.25. Any of those things is fine. Let's plug in our values. So I've plugged in my numbers. I've gone ahead and multiplied them, and I ended up with 20. Was that 20 what? Let's look back at the context of the problem. We're finding interest. This is money, isn't it? $20. We can get that. Okay. So is that everything we were supposed to find? These are habits we want to develop. Let's look back. Use formulas to find the interest they paid. We did. Check. And the future value at the end of 3 months. So we do need this second set of equations. Now this A equals P plus I, we could use that one. We could take our principal. Do we know our principal? Plus the interest rate. Do we know, or not interest rate, the interest total. How much interest? I. If we know that, we could just plug that in. The principal plus whatever we earn on interest is the future value. Now when we started this problem, we didn't know interest, but we just found it. So if we want to, we could say, oh, well, the future value is the principal, 2,000, plus the interest, which we just found out was 20, so 2020. Now as we move on that page, page 87, we read, it's very common for simple interest loans to be paid off in monthly installments. This is how many loans for things like furniture and electronics work. Let's look at finding the monthly payment for a simple interest loan. So then we have our new situation. A biotech startup borrowed $68,000 to buy lab equipment at 9% simple interest for 1.5 years. pause, so you get what's going on. It's a startup, they don't have anything. They're borrowing money in order to buy their equipment. For the privilege of borrowing that money and starting their new business, they agree to pay 9% simple interest for 1.5 years. So then our question, number 7, find the future value of the loan. So here's the question, find the future value of the loan. And our 2 simple interest formulas for future value. Now we have another simple interest formula, the I one, but we're not asked to find what I is, we're asked to find the future value, A. So why don't you give this a try? See if you can figure out which formula you have all the info that you could actually use, and try plugging stuff in. Pause the video and see if you get it right. How'd you do? Hopefully great. And if not, you can look at these steps and see if you can figure out where you went wrong and correct your path. Now this first formula, I didn't choose to use that because I don't know how much interest. I could find that. I could use the I formula, I equals PRT, and I could figure out I and then plug in the principal. But that just seems like an extra step. So I used this one. I knew P, I knew R, I knew T. I plugged all those things in. Then I needed to multiply these 2 things together first for my order of operations. I got that number. I finished the parentheses in there, and then finally multiply these 2 to get this amount. Number 8 wants us to build on that answer. We want to divide the future value, that 77,180 number we've got, by the number of months to find the monthly payment. So it's 1.5 years, which is 18 months. So I'm going to take that amount that I found, total, and split it up into equal monthly payments. So by the end of the 1.5 years, they will have paid it off. So right here I've got it. My future value divided by the 18 months, that splits it up into even amounts, or equal amounts, for each of those 18 months. I'm going to let you go ahead and punch that in and come up with your answer, but that gives us the answer to number 8.